I kind of, this is kind of twofold. One, I'd like to know what each of your why is in terms of pursuing computer science at CSBSJU. What was your why? And then taking from that, how does your degree at CSBSJU prepare you for your field in a sense? And I specifically do mean CSBSJU, so kind of, talk about, if you could, your experience specifically here with that, preparing you for your field. But yeah, what was each of your whys?
Sure. Yeah, I can go first. For me, my why is I just like solving problems. I think being a double major, computer science and math, it was pretty gratifying when, I don't know, you're stuck on a problem, and then after hours of digging and trying to resolve it, you finally get the output that you want. So that's kind of why I did what I did in college, and then that's why I kind of pursued it in a career as well. As for how my college career prepared me for what I'm doing now, I kind of went into college being of the mindset that I like to do stuff on my own, and Imad rather pushed us into quite a lot of group projects and such, which I'm not sure I was happy with at the time, but it definitely prepared me for my career that I'm doing right now. Everything is in groups, and in fact, I've often made my job harder by doing stuff on my own.
I'll go. My why for computer science, I just in high school, I loved solving problems. I loved all my computer classes that I was grateful to have in high school, and I had heard great things about the computer science program at St. John's. My older brother was a computer science major, so it was pretty easy to follow in his footsteps. And math was kind of just a good add-on. So I highly recommend if you think you can fit in some math, go for it. It never hurts anything. And as far as kind of how my experience at St. John's prepared me, I think the thing that impacted me most was creating relationships with the professors, and just working with them, because they have a lot of knowledge to share with you both inside and outside of class. And specifically, it's just real life relationships, and it's important to develop and have that skill to develop relationships once you get out of the work or out of college into the work world, because you don't just show up to class anymore and meet people. You have to work with people on your team and new people in your organization. So I was specifically thankful for the professors that kind of helped prepare me in college.
I can go. So my why I did computer science, I didn't have any computer science classes in high school. That were an option, but I did have a teacher that encouraged me to do, I think it was called Code Academy online, and I was like, this is pretty cool. But my big reason why I did computer science was I was always really interested in meteorology, but there's only like 2 meteorologists hired a year. And so I was like, what's another way I can get involved in it? And I was like, that's probably computer science. As you can tell, I'm not doing meteorology right now. But that was a big driving factor. And I think I just quickly realized that with a computer science degree, you can work in whatever industry you want, because everyone needs someone in computer science at their company. And how my degree prepared me, I think like the main thing was just exposure to so many different things and tools. It really helped me start to feel comfortable in learning new things, because I think that is what a career in computer science really is it's always changing, and so you always need to learn new things, and just being comfortable learning new things. And then also just a lot of exposure to the different careers out there. I think it really opened my eyes to like how flexible this degree really is.
Cool, I can go last. So the why for computer science, for me, it was a little weird. I didn't plan to do computer science when I came to St. John's. I actually did physics and chemistry, I think. My first year as well as computer science, and that was more the track that I was going down. And then I realized after my first semester that I really wasn't interested in that domain as much as I was in like solving interesting problems. And computer science was like a vehicle that you could use to do that. So I could solve interesting chemistry problems or interesting, math problems using computer science. And I kept the math throughout as well for a similar reason, just to solve interesting problems. The way that my computer science major helped like going forward was it kind of allowed me to see how interesting problems can be reformulated into CS problems. And that's mostly what I do nowadays, is trying to take a problem that we have in the workforce and then reformulate it into a problem that we can solve using computer science. So we did that throughout a lot of our classes and also in a lot of the clubs that we do as well. So both of those like really help where I am right now.
I'm curious, do all of you like to do puzzles? like online puzzles, or I don't know. All of you talk about problem solving, trying to find different solutions. And I think that's just, that's terrific. See that theme being woven throughout. So curious, like, how would you describe the culture where you're at currently in your workplace? Like, I think, and I'm speaking kind of from not ignorant, but I think there's a misnomer out there that computer science, and you're stuck behind a computer all day and it's just individuals, just you. Already, Jacob, you mentioned about teamwork. So I'm curious if you could all touch on that piece in terms of what is the culture like in your workplace? Even speaking hybrid, remote, again, teamwork and such. Be curious to hear. And you can go in any order, no however you want to do it.
I'll start this time. So I've been working remote for 2.5 years now. I think I've maybe gone into the office like 5 times in the past 2.5 years. So for now, like, my position is primarily remote. I could go into the office more often, but my team doesn't, and so I don't really have a drive to go into the office. One thing that I really like about my team is we actually have just an all-day Zoom meeting going that people can pop in and pop out of. There's no obligation to be in that Zoom meeting all day, but if you want to go in there and collaborate, it's just a great way to join up with the other team. A little bit more about the culture. So I work in a financial services company, specifically life insurance, and oftentimes you'll hear that life insurance and financial services companies are sometimes very behind the trend in like latest and greatest technology. And that is very true at Securian. The website I work on is like 20 years old. So I'm supporting very much like legacy technology. We're starting to do a better job of like getting up to speed on kind of latest and greatest technology, but we're still very far behind the curve. But I'm still working with Java, JavaScript, kind of your core languages. And one other thing kind of at the culture at Securian is it's very much kind of an older workforce, I'd say. Up until about a few months ago, I was actually the newest person on my team after being here for 5 years still. So there's not a lot of like turnover and people leaving, people being hired. It's relatively low, I would say, compared to other companies, which has its pros and cons. But the nice thing is, like, I've worked with the same people the entire 5 years I've been here, and we actually work really well as a team together. So I'm really, really grateful for that. So yeah, that's a little bit kind of the culture at Securian.
I can jump in. So at both Grubhub and Square, the culture that I've experienced is like very quick, like move fast, break things. So a lot of times we hop into meetings and talk about what we're going to do, excuse me. And then we break off, do our own thing, and then submit like pull requests. And then again, we talk about them as well. So it's a lot of like communication with our teammates. For example, you can't even like merge something, for example, without having 2 people approve it, right? So you need buy-in from everybody. So it's not as much like hiding behind your computer all day. It's a lot of jumping between meetings and making sure we're on the same page. I've also been remote the entire time. I actually onboarded during COVID, which was tough. But luckily I was coming back to the same team that I was an intern on, so I knew them all beforehand. After COVID, we did some meetings like once a quarter in person, and we would not do any work. To put it like lightly, we would come in, like talk a little bit, like push off a board, go like eat food, stuff like that. So whenever we were in the office, like there was a big emphasis on us like getting to know each other and like talking about stuff, because most of the job was communicating your ideas to the people around you.
Yeah, so at Voro, we're a remote first company, which basically means you can choose to work in the office, you can choose to be flex, so in the office and remote sometimes, or you can be fully remote. We have lots of people in other states too. I have been going into the office like once a week, just because I really like that person interaction during the day. But I do live a little bit farther away now, so it's probably like every other week. But it is nice to just know that you have the option, because there are definitely some things that are easier in person and vice versa. The culture at Voro, we do a lot of collaboration. We work on a lot of like new challenging things, and it's problems that we haven't seen before. So we spend a lot of time working together to try and solve those problems together. And I think like the biggest thing culture-wise that sticks out of Voro is the work-life balance. I know it's like a buzzword and people talk about it a lot, but they like truly live up to it. There's a huge emphasis on a 40-hour work week, and if you work over 40 hours, you get paid overtime, which I think is pretty rare. And we also have sabbaticals, so every 3 years you get 3 weeks off paid to do whatever you want with that time, which I also think is a really nice bonus. But it's just nice knowing that you're not going to have crazy weeks and it's planned for that way.
Yeah, Ellen, maybe I'm thinking of switching companies now.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, for me, I'll kind of just reiterate what has been said before or previously. I'm kind of on the integration team, so I'm between development and the customer, so I'm a little bit more customer facing. So I'm in the office quite a lot more than I used to be. I'm remote like 1 or 2 days a week. Otherwise, I'm in the office. But yeah, I talk to my colleagues pretty much all day, every day. Like what has been said before, I can't push any code changes without approval from other people on the team and my manager. So it's all collaboration, and other people on my team are working on similar pieces of the code. So in fact, if I pushed it, it would mess up what they were doing too. So it's definitely a lot of coordination with everyone on my team.
Terrific, thanks for those great insights. And look at that Benny Johnny network at work right there, even, right? Potentially job searching right there on the virtual panel. All right, any questions from folks here in the class? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. How do you guys code with your other coworkers, and like, do you guys use like a shared like system, and you guys can like see what other people have like written on the screen, or like what changes they're like proposing to use for the software, or how does that work?
Yes, I wish we had something more kind of like Google Doc where you could see people coding in real time. We use Git, so we check it out, and then everyone kind of makes their own changes. And when we check it in, we hope that it works. And if it doesn't, we have to fix all the merging mistakes. But that's how we do it here.
Yeah, that's the same for security, and we use Git. Again, very, very behind the trend in technology, but I will say in the past like month, there's been conversations of trying to find like a some sort of application that we can do that like pair programming where you can see each other's code on the screen. I'm sure this is the way with a lot of companies, but Securian is very strict with what technologies they allow, because we house a lot of personal financial data that we have to be careful with. And so they don't even like the idea of like me and my coworker being connected to the same IP to be able to do programming. But we're getting there. So I'm hoping in the next few months that we'll have some sort of tool where we can do the kind of that pair programming you talked, where you can see each other's code on the screen in real time.
We tried using, so we use Git as well, but IntelliJ or whatever that company is called, they have one that lets you do it similar to Google Docs. And we tried doing that at Grubhub for a while. And it was one of those ideas that was better said than done, because it was kind of a pain to have people like move your stuff around while you were working on it. So we stopped doing that. I went right like back to Git. So we have like a staging environment where you can push stuff to, and if you break things, it won't break things for everybody else. So that's what we use to make sure that nobody's like stepping on each other's toes.
We also use Git, but we've started using a new tool called Snowflake. It's like a cloud data platform, but we do a lot of querying from it, and in there you can have worksheets that you can all access, and so you can like write up your queries. People can comment in their ideas or changes and stuff, and you can just like easily edit together and see it together. It's been pretty nice. We haven't been using it that long, so I don't have a strong opinion, but it seems nice so far.
This, I could keep going for hours on this panel because I think it's so fun for me being an outsider. I mean, this, and I know people have said it, and you'll probably look at me like, but this is, this is another language, right? I mean, you're talking another language, and in fact, after this panel, I'm hosting another panel on languages and cultures, and this, I mean, this is another version of that. I think it's just really cool. Great question. Other follow-up?
I have another one.
Yeah.
What languages do you guys use, and like what languages have you guys have used in the past for your job?
I can go first because mine's short. A little bit of Python, mostly just being able to read it and help debug. But then SQL is by far the main.
Java is really important. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and SQL. So kind of Java is especially important, and I think it's very true that what they say is when you learn like one language, it's pretty easy to pick up on more. But for sure, Java is a good foundation.
Same here. I use Java at Grubhub, and I use Java now. We're transitioning to Go, but it's the exact same thing, really, just a different syntax.
Yeah, for me, I do all my coding in Python and C. Python's pretty powerful with a lot of like data analytics. So I spend a lot of time writing queries to query data out of different databases and pull it into a report.
Good question. All right, so here's another one. All right, so this is, send it through the chat here. All right, so what's one thing you thought was important about finding a job after college that turned out not to be, and one thing that you didn't think would be important but turned out to be very important? Great question.
I can go. I think one thing that I thought was important coming out was that you needed to like find your dream job right away. And it's just, that's not the case. And like the only way you can figure out what you want to do is by trying it. And I think the other thing is that like coming out of college, the job I have right now didn't exist 4 years ago when I started at Voro. And so like just being open to like knowing that you can grow in a company and like companies change and you don't have to find exactly what you're looking for right away. And I also didn't put a ton of emphasis on the work-life balance because I was super busy in college, and I was like, it's fine, I'm busy in college, I'll be busy my whole life. But it's super important because you have very little time at the end of the day, and if your work is starting to creep into your personal time, it can get eaten up really quickly. And so definitely make sure to ask questions about work-life balance when interviewing.
Great advice.
Can go next since my thing is kind of similar. So when I was looking for a job, I thought that you'd have to come in kind of knowing everything that they want you to do. And that really wasn't the case for either job that I've had. A lot of time is spent like helping me understand what I need to do and like understand the context. You know, coming out of college, I thought I'd take every single class and like be an expert in everything. And the likelihood that you know everything that the company is doing is actually kind of rare, right? Because they are, they're getting paid a lot of money to do it. So, why would we do it at St. John's, for example, right? A lot of people spend time helping you become a good engineer, I guess. And then the thing that I didn't put much emphasis on that's been really important is work-life balance. So I really value like my PTO and the fact that, my time, my clock ends at 5 and that's it. And I'm done. I can click my laptop and move on. Those two things are the most important thing to me right now.
I'll go. One thing I was extremely worried about as I neared the end of my time at St. John's was I felt like I was nervous to go into the workforce because jumping obviously from being a college student to a full-time employee, it's quite a shift. And I was a little bit worried like, oh, I don't have all the right technology skills and communication skills and everything that I needed to be like 100% confident to do the job. And I quickly found out like a lot of companies when you start out of college, they know you're a college student. They know you're just finishing up college. They train you on how to be successful in your position with technology, communication, working with others. Like they'll kind of integrate you into their company culture. And I think that's true for just kind of, like I said, a lot of companies that hire directly out of college. They know you're a college student. So I was nervous about that, but it ended up not being a big deal at all. And one thing that I kind of didn't think was super important, but actually ended up being very important to me was who I worked with. I am so grateful for the team that I have on, like that I'm on now. They make such a huge difference in like day-to-day happiness, enjoying work. I've heard even at Securian, I've heard a few horror stories that like some of the teams will fight and there'll be people crying and stuff like that. And I'm like, my team has never done that. It's great. So finding the right team that meshes with you. Some people, they might enjoy a little bit of drama, but I like a very steady flow, like even like just chill team. So that ended up being something that's been super important to me, was just the team I work on.
All right. Yeah, for me, I think the thing that I thought was important that didn't end up being important was kind of going into interviews, acting like you knew it all. Yeah, it's important to be confident, but like others have said, there's a lot of on-the-job training. And I was worried about getting every single answer correct when really that's not needed. So don't feel a ton of pressure of like, hey, I have to answer every single interview question completely correct. As long as you have potential, which I'm sure everyone here does, you'll do great. But for the item that I didn't really think about being important, that turned out being pretty important, for me, it was potential to grow at the company. So here in my position, I got pretty lucky joining a company that really kind of sits down and asks me every month, hey, do you enjoy what you do? And if I don't enjoy what I do, they try to work with me and kind of tweak what I'm doing to more fit with what I want to do. So I've been really, I'm grateful to have a job that will kind of cater my position to what I want to do.
Yeah, that's a great ending note kind of into this question that I have, which I think all really great advice that you all just gave. In fact, maybe I don't know, Mike, does anybody want to spin off that or have a question to further? I mean, you can always bring it back too, but we have a few minutes left still, so. Okay. But what I wanted to ask is, and Jacob, you made reference to that too, but in your positions currently now, or have you, for those of you who have been there a little bit, or in past experience too, have you felt opportunities for growth within where you're at? I mean, obviously, I know those who've been there for a while, obviously, I think you'd stay there if you did feel that, but I mean, what does that look like for you? And yeah, I don't want to ask the cliche where you see yourself in 5 years, but you know, I mean, but what you've learned probably so far in the time that you've, you know, since graduation, yeah, do you see yourself growing there? Do you feel you're getting professionally developed well? And again, I'm not asking to put your companies in certain lights, just you as individuals. Yeah, are you doing things outside of work that is enhancing your, I guess, professional development as well?
Yeah, I can kind of piggyback off of that since I ended near that. So yeah, I've definitely grown a lot since I've started this job. I too started at OSI right out of college. So I've been here for about 3.5 years now. And when I started, I was more kind of just on a team that looked through errors in our software and tried to fix that. And that was more, I definitely collaborated with my team, but it was more kind of just sitting in front of a computer, like we mentioned earlier. And I didn't particularly enjoy that. So I talked to my manager, and I've been a little bit more customer facing. So I'll actually work with the customer to see exactly what they need, and then tweak the software and work with them to make sure that it fits exactly what they need, which I enjoy. Not everyone enjoys working with with customers one-on-one every day. But aside from kind of my technical job, there have been a lot of like managerial opportunities for me here too. So I'm a supervisor of our team, and I'm a team lead of one of our SME teams, our subject matter expert groups. So aside from just kind of like the coding responsibilities, there are a lot of other professional development opportunities too that I encourage people to pursue as well.
I can go. Yeah, I think like the biggest sign of my company promoting growth was that I'm working in a department that didn't exist when I started there. And it kind of all just started from one conversation of like, we were building Excel reports for clients, and it was just like super cumbersome and like, I don't know, just not super fun to do. And so we started talking about building them in Power BI, and eventually made like an entire department out of it. And so just like their openness to growing in that regards of like identifying a need and helping you grow to get there, I think has been really cool. I also got my master's last year and the year before, and they were just really supportive of like protecting that work-life balance. So I did have that time after work to focus on that and get it done. And I think that really helped support my career. And just on top of like my normal responsibilities, I've had opportunities to be involved in like hiring committees, working on new biz pitches, like Jacob said, managing a couple of people. And so just lots of those like career development opportunities.
I'll go. So I've been at my company for 5 years, and I would say up until about 6 months ago, I really felt that I was growing and learning new things. But as of a few months ago, I've kind of noticed I'm like, I'm getting a little stagnant in my position. At least on my team, there's not a lot of opportunities to learn new technologies, to grow new skills. So I've actually, as of lately, started to kind of consider what my next move might look like. Just because, like I said, I have kind of felt a little stagnant, and I'm not sure that Securian is a company I want to stay with forever. Not necessarily because they're a bad company, but the financial services is just not something that I'm super excited to wake up for every day, especially life insurance. I don't know, it's a little boring. So I want to switch to a company that does something that I'm more passionate about. And again, too, it's just I've started to feel like I'm plateauing, not learning a lot of new things. So it was like a very good company for me out of college to get a first job, to learn how to work at a corporate company with new culture, stuff like that. But now I'm I'll be on the job hunt soon. But like I said, the culture has been good. The work-life balance has been great. I'm just looking for something new in the future. So my next 5 years, I will not be at Securian.
I can go next. So at both Grubhub and at Square, we have one-on-one meetings every week with our managers where we talk about what we're doing and if we like it and how we want to move forward. At Grubhub, I was doing my master's as well, and there was a lot of like opportunity for me to like share that knowledge with my team, which was great, and that helped me grow a lot. Similar to what Caitlin was just talking about, toward the end though, I began to realize that I was starting to outgrow my position a little bit. And unfortunately, just because of the way, things were going, there wasn't really anywhere for me to go next, right? And so I talked to my manager about that, and we decided that the best thing for me to do, and he was really cool about it, was to look for other opportunities, either within the company, so an internal transfer, or outside of the company. And so I looked at both and decided that what Square was doing, this particular team was interesting, and decided to do like an external transfer, right, to change jobs. It's a similar story here where like everything is new and novel and things are difficult in the beginning, but they help you out. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, right? So we, create an environment where I can keep growing, and in the next 5 years or so, like become like a senior dev and have more responsibility over the project lifecycle.
Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks for being here. I just had a question, I guess, for Ellen, because she mentioned grad school, or anyone else who has thought about grad school or been to grad school before. But yeah, I'm just curious, like, why you decided to go, because I know certifications are valuable also. So kind of what was your why on going to grad school, and for anyone else who went?
Yeah, I think my main why was like I had only worked at one company, and I thought what we were doing was great, but I was like, I don't really have anything to back that up. And so my reasoning was kind of just to get exposure to a lot of tools in like a shorter amount of time, which is what I did. They kind of give you a sample of like everything. And it was really helpful to see how other people are solving similar problems. And it also just kind of helped to boost my confidence. So I think the main why was just like learning at a faster rate. But yeah, got a lot more out of it than I was thinking I would going into it. And I also did it during COVID. So there was nothing else to do. So I just put all my focus towards it. But yeah.
That's a good question. And so I'm taking, nobody else has gone on to get a master's, but have others gone on to get further certifications, or is it kind of the question might be, or furthering that question, yeah, pluses and minuses to go in one route or the other, or both?
Actually, I'm doing my master's right now. I'm in my last semester. Thank God.
Nice.
But I have a similar reason. Like I just wanted to learn in a more structured way. So I'm doing mine in computer science, but in more of a like machine learning focus. And I found that in general, when I was looking at machine learning type jobs, some of them asked for knowledge about things that I didn't really know about. And so I was looking for a way to like have a structured learning opportunity in that space.
Oh, I have something.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add to that. I think the other reason why was like I had realized that this is what I want to do, and like I knew that like business intelligence, business analytics was my career path that I wanted to follow. And so when I got to that point of like realizing it, that's when I felt good investing the time in it.
And Will, you said 1 month left or 1 semester left?
I'm in my last semester, so
Last semester,
like
all right.
6 weeks left, and then we're done.
I haven't honestly really thought much about pursuing a master's, but I am interested in doing certification. So I'm currently working towards an AWS Solutions Architects certification. It's really nice. There's like a lot of just miscellaneous certifications out there that you can get. without having to specifically like go to grad school to get a master's degree. I didn't really realize until lately when I started considering a job switch that I'm like, oh, I should probably maybe get some certifications. So that was what prompted working towards the AWS Solutions Architect certification.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I haven't really thought much about going to grad school. I'm fortunate enough for my company to pay for certifications like that too. There are some stipulations, like I have to be here for a couple more years if they pay for it. But definitely a benefit of the position I'm in too.
Just to add something quickly, at both positions that I've been at, I've been the only person with a graduate degree though. So I just want to make sure that, just to highlight the fact that you definitely don't necessarily need one, right? Because there are people who I worked with who were much more senior than me who did not have master's degrees. So you should do it because you want to, not because you think you have to.
Yeah, that's great. That's good advice. Other questions from, yeah?
What does their work-life balance look like?
Were you able to hear that? Work-life balance?
Yep.
Okay, good.
For me, I'll be pretty honest. It's not great for me at the moment. I have a lot of deadlines coming up, so I'm definitely working more than 40 hours. But the benefit of that is I do stay in contact with my manager quite a bit, and if I work, I don't know, maybe a 50-hour week, they'll give me a bonus day to take later on in the year. So that's definitely helpful. Now, I don't know, when I'm working 50, 60 hours a week, might not seem beneficial in the moment, but.
One thing I've been super grateful for at Securian is their work-life balance. Kind of like Ellen mentioned with their company, Securian is like very much like 40 hours. They unfortunately don't pay overtime if you go over 40, but if you do go over 40, they'll start asking questions like, oh, did you need to go over 40? Do we need to hire another associate so that you can stick to your 40 hours? So the work-life balance is very nice. One thing I particularly like about my position and my team is even going the extra step. If I want to sign off at 3 o'clock I'm big into tennis, so I teach and play tennis part-time. If I want to sign off at 3 p.m. to go play tennis for a few hours and come back later in the evening and make up the time, I can. No one's asking questions. No one's saying, where are you, Caitlin? Why aren't you at your computer? So I think it goes even kind of the extra step further at Securian, that the work-life balance is nice in that aspect, especially being remote, that they don't ask questions if you're suddenly gone for a little bit. It's usually okay. And the other thing, and it varies from team to team, but the team I'm on, our overnight and like weekend support is very minimal. I actually, in the entire 5.5 years that I've been at Securian, I never got called once out of hours until like a month ago. I got a phone call at like 5 a.m. They're like, oh, this thing failed. Can you fix it? But that was the first time in 5.5 years that I've been on like overnight and weekend support that I've actually gotten called. So that's really nice. And like I said, that varies from team to team. Some teams have more intensive like weekend support type hours. So that's also something that I've been like very grateful for as far as the work-life balance.
For me, my work-life balance, we have like a similar thing. I think we call it like flex time. So you have 40 hours in the week, but you can, do them however you want to. So some days I only need like 2 hours. Some days I need like 12, and I kind of get to pick what works for me. I also get unlimited PTO, which is kind of, it can be a little misleading sometimes because, sometimes you don't end up using any of it and you end up just, working throughout like the year. But one thing that I started doing at Grubhub that we were kind of encouraged to do was to take a week off every quarter just to like refresh before you come back in. And then once a month, I have a week of on-call. So that is my only job. Like I don't do any development. I just wait for things to break and then try to fix them. That can be a little stressful on those weeks just because like things can break at any time, right? So it, it could be at 5 a.m, it could be, whenever, but I know when they're coming ahead of time, and I usually plan around it.
Yeah, we have flex time too, which is super nice because like I like to get up earlier, so then I can start my day a little earlier, and then I take a break in the afternoon to like go work out or something. And it's just nice to be able to like do whatever schedule makes sense for you. Because by the evening, I'm too tired. I don't want to work out then. So do it when I have energy. But yeah, so that's nice. And then we use Slack, which is like a little messaging system, but you can set icons when you're away. So we'll like set an icon like working out or like going to get lunch or something like that. And we just like kind of have like a common rule that like if someone's icon set that they're away, like you'll schedule your message for when they return. Because yeah, you can message them, but if you're like me and you get a message while you're working out, even though you know it's not urgent, you're like still thinking about it. And it's just kind of a nice courtesy, I guess. And that's the same thing with like we only schedule messages during business hours too, which is also nice.
Awesome. Another question, yeah.
Was there anything that you didn't learn in college that you wish you learned before you went into the workforce?
Good question.
I've got one. This is a good one. How to negotiate your pay raises. Yep. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's just me or Securian, but they're very stingy when it comes to trying to talk about money and pay raises and annual bonuses and stuff like that. And I very much like if someone tells me no or like gives me any sort of feedback, I usually like get a little shy about it, and then I'm like, oh, okay, like sorry for asking, but it's okay. It's normal to ask for more money. And that's something I didn't realize until like the past couple of years. I'm like, darn, I wish I would have been better at that in the beginning.
I'm gonna second that 100%. I did not negotiate at all for my Grubhub offer. And I actually was talking to one of my coworkers at like a offsite, and she asked me like how much I made, and I told her, and then she was like, you make more than me. And she was a year ahead of me and like a higher level than me. And she was like, yeah, they just gave me a number. And I said, okay. And I was like, yeah, that's what I did too. And so she went back to our manager and like said like, hey, like I deserve more money, and here's like, the reason why. And she got it. So like, make sure you ask for what you want because they'll give it to you. And then similar at Square, I got an offer, and this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna push a little bit. So I made up a number. There are actually some websites that give you a good idea of how much people make for your job. So I just picked like the highest one there, and I was like, I mean, they're not gonna give me that, right? Like, we'll negotiate down. And then they just said okay, and then that was it. And I was like, okay, well, I did not do that last time. So keep that in mind, whatever they give you, try not to take the verbal offer, try to push a little bit because they have money, so they'll give it to you.
Yeah, and on top of that, like how to research to know your salary worth, I think is something I'm still learning. Because there are so many different factors that can go into it, like size of the company, the industry, and you could be doing the same role at a smaller company and it might pay a little less. But just like how to know, because there are many times where I'm like, oh, I think I'm worth more, but like not really sure how to back that up. And so just knowing how to do that.
Yeah, I would agree too. I think kind of one of the things I went into job hunting thinking was, hey, once I receive an offer, I need to accept it. And I kind of wish back then when I was job hunting, I kept on pursuing other jobs kind of in the meantime too. I think it would have been beneficial if I had multiple job offers to kind of leverage off of one another. That's not always possible, but could be helpful.
So I feel like we need to close off with Pink Floyd's rendition of Money as we close off the song Money, but I'm maybe not sure that song. But anyway, that's a great great turning point and a shameless plug for XPD and Alum Relations. I just want to put it out there. We're closing up here in just a couple minutes, but these folks right here on the panel could be potential SEAM mentors. If you know about the SEAM program, student engagement through alum mentorship, right? I don't recognize the names, but and you all could be mentees if you wanted to sign up. We have the application open right now. And this would be a great one-on-one. You can connect with potential, alum mentors out there in your field of interest and get to have some one-on-one engagement moving forward from there. As we close out though, I just want to, well, first just say thank you to all of our panelists. You've been just fantastic, great insights, great advice, great questions from you all too here. I just, as we close out, I guess we only got about a couple minutes left before class is over, but if you could leave us with a parting word or two-word phrase or something, but in a bullet point, maybe 30 seconds or less, piece of advice for everybody here, whether they're, I don't know how far you are into the computer science major or minor, or you're just trying it out, considering, going that track, but what would be your one piece of advice as they're, here at CSBSU considering computer science? We got about 15 seconds or less probably for each.
I know my answer for this. But just know that there are so many more ways to work in computer science than coding.
Good.
That's it.
I'll piggyback on that and just know that whatever job you get out of college, you don't have to stick with it. I mean, I'm 5 years in and I'm now considering a job switch, which is totally okay to do.
Good.
Yeah, my little words will be kind of just soak up as much information you can while you're taking computer science courses here. It's been mentioned that there's a lot of learning that goes on in your job, but it's definitely helpful to retain information that you learn in college.
My little thing would be when you start, like you might start to feel a little bit of imposter syndrome. You might think that everybody around you is a lot smarter than you are. Everybody's faking it. Just fake it as well. You'll be fine.
That's awesome. Thank you all again. Very much appreciate you being here. And thank you all too.
Thank you guys. It was great seeing you all.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for
Yeah.
organizing.
Thank you.